Mr. Bison Clips! Mr. Bison Clips! Mr. Bison Clips! Mr. Bison Clips!
Robert Frost's poem Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening was written in 1922. It was published in the New Hampshire collection in 1923. It's a measured, balanced and powerful poem, and it's almost deceptive in its apparent simplicity, because it is packed with meaning and deals with quite heavy issues. The background art that I've chosen for this presentation by Janet Jackson is a lot more wild than the deceptively calm mood of the poem, simply because I think it's more realistic. Yes, the wind in the poem is described as easy and the flakes as downy, but when you travel on a horse through a snow, even if it is soft snow, it's still going to be harsh and unrelenting. So I think this image is quite good in representing that. If we look at the central discovery concepts in the poem, I think one thing that it does deal with is it uses a very low modality in the opening stanzas to show us how open the narrator is to discovery. The time of day and the time of year also seems important in setting the scene for his revelations. It's close to the darkest hour of the darkest night of the year, winter solstice, so it seems to be the night of December 21, 22nd. And it's showing us that personal discoveries, which are often seen as insignificant, can be very powerful. We also see the surprise in the horse conveyed in the shaking of the bells, which seems to be the only non-natural sound, and it's contrasted in that second stanza with the sibilant whisper of the easy wind. And this is the only stanza, actually, that has any oral imagery in it. The rest of the poem seems silent in terms of how Frost has represented the ideas. The poem also deals with rediscovery. It does appear, it's not explicit, but the phrase, "the woods are lovely, dark and deep," seems quite comfortable and familiar, and seems to hint that the speaker has experienced this before, and that he enjoys a moment of insight about life that he has at some point seen before, and he stops to savor this moment in time. The repetition of "and miles to go before I sleep" in the last two lines of the poem seem to show an element of human resolve, and that the man, in this case, has conquered the lure and the beauty of nature, and it's kind of an end to this almost childlike pleasure of the person in the poem, as he now moves on to more adult obligations. And so there's an element of human separation from nature, which is kind of a contrast to what we see in The Tuft of Flowers and in After Apple Picking, when nature seems more integral in the human experience. If we move across to look at the form of the poem, it's written in 4 very tight stanzas, and we're using iambic tetrameter throughout the poem. The overlapping rhyme scheme where the A, B, A becomes B, B, C, B, and then C, C, D, C, etc. in the following stanza shows the interconnectedness of those ideas and creates a forward momentum through the poem, driving us from one stanza to the next. By breaking this pattern in the last stanza, and repeating the same line twice over, it appears that the speaker has reached a decision, and those musings that we've seen throughout the poem seem to stop, and he's now gained a sense of resolve. The pronoun I only occurs in the opening and closing stanzas, shifting the focus from initially internal to more of an external focus, and then we return to his internal musings in the last stanza. Now that you've got a conceptual framework of the poem, go back and have a few more reads of it. As you do so, pay attention particularly to the use of alliteration. There's some use of assonance as well that you might want to focus on, and potentially looking at how the lines feed into each other. Once you've done that and you feel, yep, I'm comfortable with the poem, I understand where it's heading, then do the following activity. Try to answer these 3 questions. How does this poem connect with the other poems that we've studied by Robert Frost, so the other 5? and then look at how does this poem extend your ideas about Frost poetry or about the area of study discovery. So what is it doing that you haven't previously? How is it pushing the boundaries in for either Frost or the area of study? And lastly, does it challenge any of your previous conceptions? Has it changed anything that you previously thought or believed about either of those two? That way we've got some fruitful material for a class discussion later on.